Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, City Commissioners. My name is Sara Arroyo. I have been a 50 Biscayne resident since 2015. I was able to address the Commission back in September to ask for a no on Ultra. I am here again. The only difference being I am now 3 months pregnant with the due date of January, 2 months before Ultra is scheduled to happen. Thank you. I have lived in downtown for 4 years, and 2019 has been so far the best of them all. The park has been in impeccable conditions, and neighbors, local visitors, and tourists have been able to enjoy every minute of it. I could give you dozens of examples of how Ultra impacts my life, but at this point, you have heard it all. I will not accept again walking through an obstacle race for months, hopping over construction materials, broken sidewalks, and being pushed to the streets after lanes are left with sufficient space to walk in. We will not accept being prisoners in our own homes for a complete weekend, and having to request the company of security guards if I need to leave my apartment to walk my dogs. I am tired of my windows shaking and dealing with a noise that is so unbearable I can hear my dinner plates shaking. I am tired of that nauseating urine smell left on the intersection between the Intercontinental and Biscayne that is impregnated for weeks after the porta potties are removed. I can go on and on. As a resident of Miami-Dade, I have the right to quiet enjoyment in my home, as all of you do. I do not wish downtown to become a suburb. I moved to downtown because of its vibrancy, Bayfront Park, and its community. I applaud bringing Ironman, Waterpalooza, marathons, an event that promotes the well-being and health of our community. If you decide yes on Ultra today, you will be forcing me and others from downtown. Please understand, you will be making a decision that has a huge impact on our lives and will define the course of action I and many others will need to take in the year to come. So I kindly beg you, please vote no on Ultra. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, other members of the Commission. My name is Santiago Peredo. I'm a resident of 50 Biscayne. I've been living in downtown for 7 years now, 3 as a renter and now 4 as an owner. The reason I'm here is to discuss the negative impact that Ultra has had in my life and my wife's, as well as other residents. I'm in the real estate business, and I know how important small decisions are in creating value for real estate. In this case, I bought a home with a idea that it's going to appreciate over time. However, the only way for it to do so is by having good schools, good services, and a neighborhood basically that people want to live in. If you approve Ultra, it's going to make exactly the opposite. Nobody wants to live across a park that cannot be used for 6 months out of the year. That obviously creates a negative impact in the value of my property as well as the value of the property of other owners. Just to give you an idea, a 5% decrease in value, it will signify give or take $300,000 to $400,000 in less revenue for the city. Because if you cannot increase values, you cannot increase property taxes. So less property taxes has a negative impact in me as well by not having enough money to reinvest in schools, infrastructure, you name it. So that is why I am requesting from the Commission to vote no and to benefit not only the neighbors that are here to speak, but even to benefit the city overall, by being able to collect more taxes, which will benefit everybody on the long term.
Events just a moment, he has a question for you.
I think it's important. What's in here today is defer. You don't want us to not to defer, right? That's not what you want.
I want you to, if possible, to make a vote on.
You'd like to see the item heard and voted down in your opinion, for quality of life reasons.
Okay. So you don't want to defer then?
No.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Dr. Arlene Ramsing. I'm a resident of downtown. I live at 50 Biscayne. I'm here today to ask you to vote no to Ultra returning to Bayfront Park. My reasons for asking you to vote no. Ultra at Bayfront Park damages our homes. We know this from a sound study that was done at 50 Biscayne. Ultra at Bayfront Park violates our property rights. Ultra at Bayfront Park damages our health. Ultra at Bayfront Park damages the park. Those of us who enjoy using the park frequently, we like to walk there, we like to ride our bikes, we like to run. Those of us who use it frequently, Ultra at Bayfront Park closes the park for months at a time. It negatively impacts our health and well-being. So, in closing, I hope you've heard the concerns of all of us here today, the downtown residents, and that you vote no to Ultra returning to Bayfront Park. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Good. Next comment, please.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Rebecca Yu. I am a resident of 50 Biscayne, downtown resident. And why are we here again? I don't understand why this Ultra agenda has been brought back to the city discussion. We already voted down, you all voted down last year unanimously. So we know Ultra is not for downtown residents or downtown period. It's too huge, it's too much traffic, it's too much damage, it destroys our parks. And why are we revisiting this over and over? That's the definition of insanity. We want our life back, just like what we had this year and last year. Life is beautiful. We can sleep in peace, we can walk our dogs, we can enjoy the greenery, so we don't look at a war zone day after day. So please vote no today. Let's not delay this decision because it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work going forward because we have residents, we have a voice, we pay taxes, and we vote. Thank you, please vote no today. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Barry Dusman. I'm a resident of 50 Biscayne in downtown Miami. I'm here to speak in opposition to the reintroduction of Ultra to Bayfront Park. First, I'd like to thank the commission members for its vote last year against holding the Ultra Music Festival in Bayfront Park, because it was very nice to be able to spend that spring in the park with my family for those months. Folks that are here today presenting their concerns about Bayfront Park in the effects of introduction of Ultra to Bayfront Park, the effects on their homes, their lives. I also care about the downtown neighborhood, which is showing potential for a renewed vibrancy. There are major hotels coming online. The Bright Line has arrived. There are several new restaurants and bars downtown, and we even have our own movie theater. One other point I'd like to add to the list of reasons why we should be not allowing Ultra to perform in Bayfront Park is that according to the professional organization City Parks Alliance, continued revitalization of downtown areas depends on the continued attraction of entrepreneurs, small businesses, and workers with their families. Studies show that among the features that attract workers and entrepreneurs to an area are lifestyle amenities, and studies further show that one key amenity for urban workers is the availability of accessible green spaces like Bayfront Park. So since Ultra in Bayfront Park causes it to be unusable and inaccessible for months on end, a vote against the return of Ultra to Bayfront is a positive incentive for those considering downtown for a business or a place to live. A vote against the return of Ultra also shows that the Miami Commission understands and responds to the concerns of downtown residents and will act in their best interest. For this and the many other reasons presented on this topic, I ask that the Miami Commission vote against the resolution to bring Ultra back to Bayfront. Thank you.
My name is Father Eduardo Alvarez, and I represent Jesu Catholic Church, a church that is historical, that was founded before the city of Miami was incorporated. And I have a community of 3,000 senior citizens. When there is an event like Ultra, which I'm against, our senior citizens have a lot of difficulty to go to church. I have close to 3,000 of them. Last time when Mayor Diaz was mayor, they presented a letter with 3,000 signatures about an issue similar to Ultra, because for them, it is very difficult when the buses change the routes and an old man or an old lady is walking with a walker, and he or she knows that that it's only 1.5 blocks that they have to walk. But when the buses change the routes, you know, they have to walk 6 or 7 miles, so they don't go, and they would like to protest. Last time we sent a letter with 3,000 signatures to the mayor. We thought it was the best thing about this issue. The second issue is that many of them cannot cross the streets because the streets are closed. And I'm not blaming the police at all, at all. They're doing their duty. They're doing their duty that you have given them. Okay, so that's an issue that I do want to present. They are ready to send you a letter if this is going on. The second thing that I would like to present is that I have no parents who would like to baptize a child in that area when Ultra is going on, and the people that Ultra brings. There are no weddings that come to that church at that time, and these are people who vote.
Thank you, Father.
Okay. I was going to say one more last thing.
Time, if you could wrap it up, please. The time is up.
Okay. Remember that you might get some money, but other commissioners might use it.
Good morning. I'm Idania Laredo. Thank you for letting me speak today. I'm here as an owner from downtown. I've been living there for 15 years at the One Miami, 335 South Biscayne Boulevard. And I'm here to ask you to please vote no for Ultra. I've been there for 15 years. I've seen downtown go through many changes, and Ultra has not added in a positive way. We have other events that do. Not only, as someone said before, the smell during the festival, after the festival, of the urine, the sidewalks broken, no access to sidewalks. I myself love that community because we can exercise, we can walk. There's children living there. Not 15 years ago. And I disagree that Ultra doesn't add to making it vibrant. Downtown is a vibrant community and thriving without Ultra. We don't need that. That only brings chaos, more drinking on the sidewalks the morning after Ultra starts. I've seen all of that. And I'm asking you please not to bring that back. After a hard day's work, we want to come home to some peace. And Ultra does not bring that at all. It brings all the negative effect, actually. The noise, the windows shaking, even though they are new buildings, but the noise comes right through. Even our pets. I had a neighbor that the dog ate right through the bedding because how nervous of that noise. So imagine what it does to children and all of us. There's nothing really positive I can say about it. I know it's an amazing experience for people that go to it and that work for it. But how about our experience? It's not amazing at all. So I ask you, please, to take this in consideration, and it doesn't add value to our properties. It's only going to hurt it in the future. Thank you.
Hi, how are you? My name is Dr. Ariel Grobman. I'm a board-certified otolaryngologist, or an ear, nose, and throat doctor. I'm University of Miami trained and work at Mercy Hospital. I was asked by the 50 Biscayne Boulevard Condominium Association to review the sound study and to shed some light on the effect of the noise that's exposed from the Ultra Music Festival to the residents in the area. So that study was a very sound study, very well done. And there are a few points that I'd like to highlight about the correlation between the noise that's present and potential harm to residents. So One thing is that we typically use the OSHA standard or even the newer CDC standard to delineate how long people can be exposed to loud noises and what level before permanent damage occurs. And throughout the weekend, not only is the noise going up from Friday to Sunday, but there are certain areas in the building where residents can only be present for about an hour before levels exceed those that can cause temporary or permanent hearing loss. And there's a typical high proportion of bass notes in electronic music, and these bass notes actually will sensitize the ear and predispose it to more hearing loss from the remainder of the music. So having the bass going on all that time will predispose people in the building. From the sound study, we saw that the music shutoff was at 1 a.m. and was resumed again as early as 8 or 9 a.m. That's certainly not enough time from both human and animal studies to allow the inner ear to recover from the damage that happens from noise-induced hearing loss, something called free radicals that you may have heard that term. They accumulate, and that is just not enough time to allow someone's ear to heal from that exposure. And finally, the people who are most predisposed to noise-induced hearing loss are people with pre-existing hearing loss and the elderly and people with diabetes. So the population is already predisposed, and then they're getting a second hit from all this music exposure.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chairman Russell, Commissioners, and Mayor. My name is Joe Beer, and I'm the Executive Manager of Epic Residence located at 200 Biscayne Boulevard Way. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to speak in opposition of bringing Ultra back to Bayfront Park. The months of inaccess and damage done to the park during setup and breakdown, and the negative quality of life to so many residents living in the immediate area, and the many complaints that I receive from residents about noise, disruption, damage, and traffic must be taken into careful consideration. Ultra was unanimously voted down in the past, and I ask once again that the Commission consider other areas of Miami more appropriate for a music festival of this size and disruption. Please vote no on the return of Ultra to Bayfront Park. Thank you very much.
Good morning, dear Mayor, Chairman, Commissioners, and City Manager. I am Reverend Pedro Martinez, a citizen, a resident of downtown Miami. I live in 50 Biscayne, right across Bayfront Park. For the following reasons, I urge you to say no to Ultra on Bayfront Park. 60 days of noise, 24 hours daily, day and night. The beeping of the cars at night do not allow us to sleep. During setup, concert, and takedown. 90 days, Bayfront Park is totally closed or limited use only to the residents. The young, the elderly, families, youth, and pet owners are not allowed to use Bayfront Park. High decibels of music that are damaging to human and pets. 90 days that Bayfront Park is abandoned and destroyed. This is an environmental disaster. Downtown condominium owners pay millions of dollars in taxes, and we deserve to be represented by you, our leaders. Bayfront Park is not a massive event venue, it is a park to be enjoyed by the community. For Ultra Festival visitors, the event is a 3-day event full of fun, dancing, and revelry. Notice that almost all the speakers in favor of Ultra do not live across or nearby Bayfront Park. For us, the residents, downtown Miami that live across nearby or near Bayfront Park, Ultra Festival is a 3-month event bringing us lack of sleep, anxiety, and suffering. It is detrimental to our quality of life and health. Ultra affects our property values. For Bayfront Park is 90 days of abandonment and environmental disaster. Please, I urge you to say no to Ultra on Bayfront Park.
Thank you.
My name is Emilio Calleja, 401 Biscayne Boulevard, Bayside. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. For me at Bayside, what a relief it was not to have Ultra this March, not to have Bayside fenced off, not for parking rates skyrocketing, not for the closure of the Biscayne Boulevard North lanes, not for the hardship just to get into Bayside, not only for our customers, but for our employees. We have over 150 businesses there. In my opinion, my business doubled this past March in comparison to last year. So we are impacted, and we are ground zero. We are Bayside. We're right next to the park. We get no deliveries during that week. Like I said, we get fenced off. The only way to get into Bayside, if you know how to get in, is on 5th Street. There's no access on the 3rd Street entrance. So all of these things really make us feel, and I understand what everybody else has said, we are being singled out and not being able to do business as the other people are claiming they can do during Ultra. I urge you to reconsider it. I urge you to give us a break. I think Ultra has outgrown Bayfront Park. It's like the suit you wear when you're 20 years old. It doesn't fit anymore. I think right now that's what's happened with the Ultra. They've outgrown downtown. They've outgrown the venue. Let them find a venue like major events in big open fields, but not in downtown. Thank you.
Emilio, hold on for 1 second. If I may ask him a question. How many employees do you have in your business at Bayside?
42. 42.
42. It's a sizable amount. I want to make sure that I heard what you stated, that when Ultra wasn't there this past year in Bayfront Park, that your business doubled?
Yes. I have the numbers. We have, as a businessman, you compare date to date. Our business dropped.
Thank you. Would you say that the majority of the business around the downtown area like that might have experienced more or less what you have, that at least their business went up instead of going down?
Well,
talking the ones that are selling food or selling other stuff in downtown Miami.
Well, I speak to Bayside. Like I said, the problem is we're fenced off. Access to Bayside, try and get into Bayside during Ultra. Not only that, the whole setup.
Yeah, but to me it's still amazing because you've had approximately 50 plus thousand people there each day for 3 days. Bayside has the closest restaurants, places to have drinks.
They don't come.
Than anyone. And I would have thought that you would have been more impacted than anyone else. And you're telling me just the opposite.
Commissioner Fairmay, we have a long agenda. We're going to discuss this. We can all discuss this when it comes to it.
But okay. It was important because a lot of these people might not be around later. So we want to get
I understand.
On the record.
It's on the record. So.
Good morning, Joy Prevor. And I need to say that I have nothing against Ultra. I truly do not. But it no longer belongs at Bayfront Park. And as opposed to all of these speakers that you've been listening to today, many of whom who say they live in downtown and somehow seem to be employed by Ultra in one way or another, I actually live across the street from where Ultra takes place. Not in Brickell, not up in Bayshore Drive, across the street. And I will remind you that the lawyer for Ultra who came here and testified to you about the sound produced by Ultra, he told you very clearly that that sound was being experienced very differently in the condos than it was at the concert. They may be enjoying Ultra, they may be great with the sound, and I'm glad they're having a good time, but the condos are absorbing all of that sound, okay? And this past year, having the park to ourselves, to enjoy with the rest of the city, was such a pleasure. I don't know if you joined us, but we had opera in the park. We had Shakespeare in the park for kids. It was a beautiful time. And we are not opposed to events. We're not saying you shouldn't have 4th of July. We're supporting the Super Bowl. We've worked with the Super Bowl to find ways to make this work. And along those lines, by the way, I just want to also speak in favor of the RE14, because that's a good example of being a good community partner, working with us, giving something back to the community that you've impacted, okay? So I just don't think that it belongs at Bayfront Park anymore. And I just want to remind you that these visitors may come and go. They're here for a weekend, and that's great that they come, and I love that they spend money at the hotel. But we are your citizens, your residents, your taxpayers year-round.
Thank you.
We need you to represent us.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Fran Fenton at One Miami. Good morning, Commissioners and Chairman Russell. I'm surprised to find myself addressing the use of Bayfront Park again for Ultra so soon. I'd like to address some of the myths that are used as arguments to allow Ultra in Bayfront Park. The first is that it has always been in the park, and therefore Bayfront Park is its home. It has actually had a nomadic existence. This music fest was first held at Miami Beach in 1999 and 2000. It did move to Bayfront from 2001 to 2005, and it was a one-day event. And then from 2006 to 2011, it was held in Bicentennial Park, now Maurice A. Ferry Park. It did return to Bayfront in 2012 and until 2018. Another misrepresentation of this event is that it is only a 3-day affair. This is certainly true for the concert goers, but not for the downtown residents, who literally get fenced out of the park for about 6 weeks, including being excluded from the Bay Walk, which is also a tourist attraction. Without the Bay Walk, reaching Bayside Marketplace can be challenging, affecting both tourists and small businesses. Taking the park and the Bay Walk away for extended periods of time means that tourists do not get to see the real Miami. Last year, we learned from a study that the noise levels generated by the amplifiers at Ultra pose health risks to the residents of at least one condo across Biscayne Boulevard. I can't believe a city would put its residents at risk by continuing to hold a concert at this location. If this and other events are so vital for Miami's economic success, shouldn't we problem solve and find a real home for them, which is non-controversial, an underutilized stadium or a field which doesn't disrupt our quality of life or harm the health of our residences? By the way, just as we're fenced out, the concert goers are fenced in. They do not see Biscayne Bay. They really don't need waterfront property. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Peter Ehrlich, 720 Northeast 69th Street. And I'm here in RE3 and also RE14. I oppose Ultra leasing Bayfront Park. I support my downtown neighbors who oppose Ultra on the park. I believe Commissioner Carollo and perhaps other commissioners have specific questions about the details of the lease. And regarding RE14, I support the $300,000 being allocated to the Downtown Development Authority to be used for a Baywalk lighting project. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioner Russell, Steve, and everyone else. Steve Kakoff, I live on Brickell Key, and I represent not only myself, but many other residents on Brickell Key. I, like them, feel that we have been betrayed. After last year's vote, which was unanimous, we find ourselves here again, and I ask myself why. Why are we here? And it seems to me we're here only because of money. And I think that the welfare, the well-being, the health of the residents who live downtown and close to downtown, Brickell Key as well, is being affected by this. So I am definitely against Ultra coming back. I would like to, while I have a little bit of time, respectfully, and I say respectfully, I would like to ask you by a show of hands, which of you would put this event in your front yard?
We'll take it as a
None of
rhetorical
you,
question.
right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Itai Benash, downtown resident, DNA officer. As downtown residents for over a decade, my family and our neighbors enjoy the vibrant life of downtown Miami and welcome events that are willing to be good neighbors to their host community. Last year, the Downtown Neighbors Alliance successfully negotiated a noise abatement program with Bayside Marketplace, which resulted in immediate drop in frequency and severity of complaints and allowed Bayside to continue their daily live music shows. We're excited and honored that the downtown Miami was chosen as a site for the 2020 Super Bowl fan events. And why is that? Because the Super Bowl host committee proactively engaged downtown residents to address our concerns and negotiate terms and limits for the events. I am pleased to share that we already reached an agreement on 8 out of 10 areas of concern, and we are very close to reaching agreement on the last 2 of them. Finally, the DNA and the Bayfront Park Management Trust negotiated changes to the park's event policy in order to reflect the monumental changes in downtown's demography. Last month, that agreement was approved by majority vote of the Bayfront Park Management Trust Board and integrated into the park's promoters kit. That agreement represents a breakthrough compromise that would allow Bayfront Park to continue hosting many events that are appropriate for a residential downtown area. Unfortunately, the proposed contract before you today violates the city charter, the 85% free public use ordinance, and the park event rules that were approved this year by the trust. Furthermore, the city manager would not meet with the DNA and consider our input. The result is an unheard of perpetual lease of Bayfront Park that will limit the public's access for a full month every year, limit the public's use of the park for 6 to 8 additional weeks of damage repair, generate noise levels that significantly exceed safety standards at adjacent residential communities, and that can only be terminated by unanimous vote of the Commission. Less than a year after the Commission unanimously rejected Ultra, it is impossible to fathom how anyone could propose such a one-sided deal. Due to the failure of Ultra and the city manager to put forward a contract that is even remotely appropriate for the venue, there is only one appropriate place for this so-called revocable license, in the deleted folder of bad policy. Please vote no.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Sam Dubbin, 1200 Anastasia Avenue, representing the Downtown Neighbors Alliance, 50 Biscayne, and many individuals. I submitted a letter, which I will then put officially into the record. But I'm going to pose some legal problems that the city will and the commissioners will undertake if they approve this measure. Number one, as you saw from the sound study and you heard from the doctor today, the Ultra Festival imposes a legal nuisance on the residents on Biscayne Boulevard, who I represent. And the case law in Florida is clear, that the courts will enjoin a nuisance even when it's voted on by the authorities. In Bartlett v. Moats, that's a Supreme Court case, the Supreme Court enjoined the following: a open-air dance pavilion across the street at which a number of patrons congregated to dance and drink with music from a band or orchestra beginning at 9 p.m. and continuing until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And the Supreme Court said that has to be enjoined because you're violating the quiet enjoyment of the residents. And you do not have the authority to allow that. The courts will step in and say, public is entitled to quiet enjoyment. Number two, this agreement violates the city charter. Chapter 29A and B requires for a lease or conveyance of an interest in publicly owned land that there be competitive bidding, independent appraisals, and a payment of fair market rent by the private user. Now, as we know, Ultra has violated that, and the city has violated that continuously. And I understand that today the argument of the city attorney's office is this is a, quote, revocable at will license. That is a legal fiction which I urge you not to accept. It's basically a sham. And there is a 3rd District Court of Appeal case called Homestead Miami Speedway, where they allowed the car races 3 days for a 15-year period in Bayfront Park.
Thank you.
And the 3rd District said that is a lease, it's subject to the charter, and if you don't go through competitive bidding, it's void. Now, can I just make one point?
Thank you very much.
Can I make one other, Commissioner?
10 seconds, please.
Okay, thank you. I will put into the record, with your permission, the materials that I'm relying on. Thank you.
I should save a blanket here. I'm here so often, and I keep forgetting how cold this room is. My name is Amal Solkabani, and I'm the president of the Downtown Neighbors Alliance. I'm also obviously a resident of 50 Biscayne. I've got 3 things. RE14, yes to the Baywalk lighting project. Yay to the DDA. Wonderful job, girls. I love you. DI2, please vote no. Don't encourage unsolicited proposals, and please protect our historical Olympia Theater, please. RE3, no to any mega-size event at Bayfront Park that takes over our only green space and is dismissive of the residents' requests. We are not here to eliminate events that coexist with the residents. Case in point, Pitbull, Super Bowl, Miami Run. We have concerts every week in the amphitheater. We have wonderful community-driven events, Opera in the Park, Shakespeare and Mozart for the children. So it's not about events, it's about the mega size of the event at Bayfront Park. To the businesses and workers that are relying on 3 days out of the year to make your revenue, which coincidentally is during spring break, you have a bigger problem on your hands. To the hotels, help us. Help make downtown vibrant, not just 3 days a year. Let us join forces to revive the core, starting with our Flagler Street, and demand programs that shelter the homeless population so tourists, especially those with means and not the Airbnb kind, can enjoy coming to downtown, again, not just 3 days a year.
Thank you.
And finally, just to throw it out there, I don't think any brand would want to be associated with killing green space. Thank you.
I have no recollection that we instructed you to come up with a contract. This really took me by surprise.
Me too.
And Dan, I know the terms that were negotiated before. I know what they wanted that they didn't get from me in a contract. And gee, I guess you must have a crystal ball or something that the terms that they were demanding from me in a contract that they didn't get just happened to be in that contract.
We are going to look for your input if this happens at all.
Yeah, but my question is, that contract was written by Ultra. That contract was written by Ultra.
No, we actually
took... That
took
contract was written by Ultra.
No, sir.
No?
I don't think we need to get into that. I believe the temperature on this dais at the last meeting had the administration going back to Ultra to see if there was something to bring to us. That put the ball in Ultra's court. And we up here tipped the leverage in their favor from a negotiating perspective. And I think this motion right here brings it back in our favor. So I appreciate your support on that. Well, it was your motion, Commissioner.
That is, but we wanted to talk and analyze it, not to bring back a contract. A contract written in the way that it was written. I mean, I didn't know who wrote it, and it really was weird that if our legal department had written that way, you see, I said, this is impossible. Now I know that it was our man from Dream, and wow.
Thank you. Any further discussion on RE3 deferral to July 25th?
Just a statement that I'm going to make on the record. There are 3 kinds of contracts that you could enter into with Ultra at Bayfront Park. The first is a bad contract. The second is a bad contract. The third is a bad contract, and this is what this one is. And the stuff that we're put into this contract, they don't even know that they're putting the trust in default. They're going to have to pay more monies than what they're claiming that we're going to gain from the contract.
Thank you.
I mean, this is so outrageous. And I understand why the manager didn't want to be around today. When he was going to Virginia Key, he was scolded for asking and entering into a proposal of $1,400,000. And within 10 minutes, I had him to $2 million. This contract that's before you today, if we're lucky, we might get out of it $750,000, if we're lucky.
All right. Any further
Did
discussion?
you know that? No, because you didn't write that contract and those provisions in it.
Well, maybe he did.
No.
Please, gentlemen, I think we're ready to vote on this. Commissioner Gort?
I have to tell you, if they say they want to come back, this contract is not helping at all.
Yeah. I think they overplayed their hand a little. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.